Well, I had just finished putting the finishing touches on my closing argument video when news came in that the verdict was in. What a fast verdict. Here's what we're talking about today. After gathering everybody from the distances from where they'd left the courtroom, they brought everybody back in. They brought the jury in, and the jury handed the verdict to the bailiff. The bailiff took it to the judge. The judge gave it to the clerk, and the clerk reported this.
The verdict is in proper form. The defendant shall remain standing while the verdict is published through the clerk.
We, the jury, find Jose Soto-Escalera as to count 1, guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment. If you find the defendant guilty as charged or guilty of any of the above lesser offenses, you must next determine if any of the following has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Check yes if proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Check no if not proven beyond a reasonable doubt. During the commission of the offense, the defendant did carry, display, use, threaten to use, or attempt to use any weapon. Yes. As to count 2, guilty of first-degree murder of an unborn child as charged in the indictment. So say we all. This 19th day of September 2025, four-person Ariel
Bickley.
Bickley.
Please be seated. I will poll the jury. Mr. Montecon, I believe your name is Montecon, right? My last name, I have Monte on the sheet here. Mr. Montecon, is this your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole? Miss Johns, is this your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Miss Ed, your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Wright, is this your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Sedaris, as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss, your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes.
Mr. Your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss, or your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Is your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss, is your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Miss, like your name pronounced, jury selection, is this your verdict as well as the verdict of the jury as a whole?
Yes, Your Honor.
And
Yes, Your Honor.
the verdict is accepted by the court at this time. And ladies and gentlemen, the procedure that we're going to follow at this time, given your verdict, is we're going to proceed to the second phase of this trial, which is called the penalty phase. We're going to do that on Wednesday of next week. Monday, the lawyers and I are going to be working on the case in court. Tuesday is a court holiday, so we will reconvene Wednesday, the 24th at 8:45 for that proceeding. This is very important, and I've instructed the alternates the same way. They will be reappearing on that day as well. It's very important to follow that rule that I've instructed you on from the beginning of the trial.
Normally, juries take a fairly long time in death penalty cases to work through the evidence, to evaluate the defenses, to go through whatever physical evidence there is, to go through whatever testimony may have been in conflict. Usually they just really work hard at trying to get the right result. And believe me, I honestly believe they got the right result here. But sometimes juries sit through a trial and they listen to the prosecutor go through the mountain of evidence that links this guy to the murder. And then they listen to the defense attorney stand up and say, well, first of all, if you think Jose did it, it was a crime of passion. And here are all the reasons not to believe that Jose did it. So you first shoot yourself in the foot and then hobble around. Now, she did a really good job, I thought, like I said in the last video, of creating some reasonable doubt. She asked a lot of questions. She asked questions that the state did not answer in its rebuttal closing, which I found rather fascinating. But at the very end, what it comes down to is what the jury heard, what the jury saw, and what the jury believed. And apparently, first of all, they believed the translations. It's obvious that they believed the translations, and that more likely than not drove the verdict in this case. Why do I say that? Because they came back so quickly. When you say you're going to do something, you do something, then you later say, here's what I did, and boy, am I in trouble for it. There's almost no way a jury can ignore that kind of evidence. And I suppose they also think that if you're dumb enough to record your plans and your confession later on to having done that thing, that you deserve whatever the law gives you for that crime of stupidity. And that's pretty much what they did. I mean, they went back. I'm pretty sure what they did is they said, if we take another 30 minutes, we'll probably get lunch. And so let's wait a little bit and then let's give them our verdict. And it's amazing to me that it wrapped up so quickly, that the verdict came in so quickly. Like I said, usually I expect juries to spend a little more time. But I think they were just, kind of off-put by the fact that the defense counsel attempted to gaslight them on what those recordings said, what they meant, how important a missed date on a certification was. I mean, in the end of the day, that's just not credible as a reason to give it reasonable doubt to the guilt. And of course, now what happens is we go to the penalty phase. And the penalty phase has two features, two primary features. One, aggravating circumstances. In other words, these are all of the things that make this murder more worthy of the death penalty than other murders. And they will go through a number of different things, most of which I'm not going to mention now because clearly that's the kind of thing that YouTube doesn't like, and I don't blame them. Nobody really wants to hear about that kind of thing when they're sitting down to eat dinner or, watching YouTube after they ate dinner. It's disgusting and gross, and I don't blame anybody for not wanting to hear that. But that's what the jury is going to have to listen to. They're going to have to listen to all of that evidence again. They're going to probably have to see the crime scene photos again. And basically, the prosecution is going to try to make the case that this is a guy who, sort of like a rabid dog, needs to be put down. Now, I'm not generally a big fan of the death penalty. First of all, it costs a lot more. It costs more to get a conviction, and it costs more to defend that conviction on appeal. And it will be 10 years before Jose ever has a date with an executioner, and that assumes that somebody doesn't come along and pardon him or commute his sentence or whatever. The price is just, not worth the end result and having to wait 10 years for justice. So to me, I think it wastes a lot of time and money to go for the death penalty in these situations. It is indeed the ultimate penalty, and certainly a double murder qualifies, I think, for that kind of thing. And also the manner in which it was carried out certainly qualifies it. But just as you have aggravating circumstances, you have mitigating circumstances too. This is what I call the bad parenting time. The defense will get up and say he was abused as a child, his mother didn't love him, his grandmother called him ugly, kids in school, trashed him, they said awful things to him. The only kind of job he could get was driving a trash truck. He had a terrible life. His wife didn't love him. She was threatening to throw him out. He found some solace in the companionship of this young lady. And then, she did all these awful things to him that caused him to do whatever it is he did. It's essentially an attempt to make the case that maybe there is some value in not ending this person's life. And again, just as a Christian, I think it's probably not a good thing to encourage people to have the state kill them, because although it certainly stops recidivism, you have to admit that it doesn't make it right to take somebody's life in that manner. Some crimes absolutely deserve it, and I think it's a moral question for each individual juror as to whether or not they can vote for the death penalty. So, for whatever reason they feel they may be called upon to give him the death penalty, that's what they're going to be deciding in this penalty phase. So, first they listen to the state with the aggravating evidence, then the defense gets the mitigating evidence, their closing arguments just the way they were in the regular trial, and then the jury has to go and deliberate and decide what to do. Now, it was pretty quick on the guilty verdict. We'll have to see how long it takes them to decide on the ultimate punishment. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here today. If you have the opportunity today, try to do one kind thing to help somebody else. Any kind thing will do. Buy somebody a Coke, get them a cup of coffee. Anything that makes their day better, that would be a way to help make the world a better place. Because after all, isn't that what we're all after? Now, YouTube has a few things that they think you might be interested in, and they're going to be showing you that right up there.